You're welcome. I dressed up for you guys. Here's the thing. I was going to actually like get myself together and then I realized, why? We're friends now. You've known me for at least 10 years. We can be in basically pajamas and hair unwashed and brushed. So many of you guys know, I posted on Instagram a reel of uh, a moment, lots of moments marking my 10th anniversary of moving to LA. And I talked about, the reels is 1 minute. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. So clearly, to sum up 10 years in 1 minute is nearly impossible. So I asked you guys to join me here. Sorry. um, so that I can further elaborate on all that I've learned in the last 10 years. And trust me, like 3 hours would not be enough time for all the lessons I've learned, given all that's happened. Quick summary: I moved here for my job, Good Day LA. Thought my purpose was to cover all the big entertainment stories, award shows, etc. Yeah, no. How juvenile that thought is now. I think the divine forces actually had me move to LA so that I could save myself. I discovered a brain tumor. I was in a surfing accident, literally in the area I can see out my window. And which is another reason why I vowed to never move from this beach because it saved my life. But, that surfing accident revealed a giant tumor in my head. Got really sick. And it was beautiful in the sense that I got to really see Leif, my husband now, my boyfriend then, show up big for me during that scary time. And that's when you know, right? I never want you guys to be tested in that way, but that's when you know. And then, we eloped, had Driggs, had Lulu, all this despite the fact that all the medical people in my life, my neuro team, my OB-GYN, everyone just kind of was warning me that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to get pregnant. Boom. Two beautiful, healthy kids. And then we bought the most dilapidated fixer upper. And then on the street that was my dream to live in because it's right by the beach that saved my life. And we got to build our dream home. And yeah. And then, like, I completely burned out during my TV job. And so I was just really digging my soul. And cut to, I self produced and launched my docu-series 940, which all of those episodes are visible here on this YouTube channel. And I do hope you'll subscribe and like because YouTube is a space that's been very difficult for me to grow. And I want to be able to keep producing content for YouTube and get it to a point where I can monetize at least a little bit so that I'm not doing all of this work and not being able to provide income for my family. Okay, so I actually went ahead and wrote down some of the lessons I've learned because I wanted to be concise and be able to make sense because. Um, One of the things I've done recently is cut caffeine out of my life or just to minimum, and the brain is not as sharp without the caffeine. But the beauty is, I'm having far less anxiety and panic attacks without the caffeine. So, okay, so the big lessons I've learned in the last 10 years of being here in LA. One, everything that happens to you is usable if you will let it be usable. So, what I mean by that is, for example, like we talked about my big, beautiful brain tumor, that has been usable to me every day of my life since then because I now sweat the little stuff far less. You know what I mean? When you're staring death in the face, you realize, like, maybe I shouldn't complain about this bad driver on the road. Who cares? It's fine as long as it's not putting you in danger or someone else in danger. It's like, it's the small stuff, okay? And we're all humans, so you can get worked up about traffic every now and then, but it's nice that I have this tumor history to always bring me back to that moment, to humble me, to ground me, that whatever I'm complaining about that day probably isn't life or death. You know what I mean? So that's been usable that way. It's also the tumor experience was usable to me. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the sense, you know, they say to you hypothetically, like you want to marry someone who, if you got really sick, who is that person next to you on your bedside taking care of you? I didn't have to envision that. Like I didn't have to imagine that because I lived it. And so the tumor experience allowed me to see so clearly that life was in it through sickness and health, or health and sickness. You know what I mean? And so it was usable in the sense it really, really clearly tested Leif's love for me and vice versa. And so I was like, if we can get through this as a boyfriend, girlfriend, I think we can be married. And so it expedited everything. We eloped, had drinks. Anyway, number two, huge lesson I've learned in the last 10 years of living in LA. Um, you can really manifest powerful things. So I had created a vision board with everything from, what my future dream home would look like. I would have images of like a really yummy, dreamy cup of coffee, images of little tiny toes peeking out of crisp sheets, um, just a vision of like sun rays beaming through a window, like a huge window. Um, and all these powerful visions that I posted, meditated on, I'm happy to report every single thing on that vision board has come true for me. So I know everyone is wired differently and sets goals differently, but I do really believe in the power of being able to vision things. So that's what I've learned. Um, Three, the third lesson I've learned in the last decade of being here in LA is you can just stay busy or you can protect time. The two things are very, very different. I think about how I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off in my 20s, just filling my calendar left and right, never asking myself and never having really hard criteria of what makes it onto my list with the very limited time I have on a day to day basis. And I was just, we live in a culture that glamorizes the grind. And people say, oh, I'm so busy, almost as a brag. And so I've really learned to separate that. Are you staying busy or are you protecting time? Um, I just think that we put such a high emphasis on leaning in, but rarely do we talk about the burnout. And as someone who burned out in morning TV, it's very real. And I think about maybe I didn't have to crash and burn so badly in the end. But again, I don't regret anything playing out the way it did because, like I said, for lesson number one, everything in your life is usable. So, and technically, I was doing TV for what, 17 years? So it's not like I crashed and burned fast. 17 years is a long time to be in a cutthroat industry. And it's, I was at Fox for 12 years. And to be in that culture for 12 years, these are no small feats. So I'm proud of myself, but I was definitely ready to take care of myself better and move on and continue learning and growing. Okay. And then, I guess my big lesson I've learned in three, just the value of time. Like it's our ultimate commodity, right? It's the one thing that doesn't wait for anyone. You'll never get it back. Like these are the reasons why I self-launched and produced my docuseries 940. You know, in summary, that show 940 stands for the number of weekends from the time your child is born till he, she, or they go off to college or turn 18. So when you put a tangible number like 940, I think it's just a powerful reminder that time is so fleeting. And so that is like the third lesson I've learned about time and the value of time is the reason why I launched this show. And which is also like, I do really believe this is my purpose in life, is sort of guiding and showing people ways to harness time, how to savor moments better, and how to sort of slow down and be attuned to the people we love. In short summary, how do you make time matter for people who matter? Um, and so those are the three big lessons I've learned, right? So everything that happens to you is usable. Um, you can manifest powerful things. And three, um, are you staying busy or are you protecting time? The fourth thing I want to leave with you isn't so much of a lesson, um, but they're open-ended questions that help guide me to get to where I am today. And it comes from an author, Jamie Varon. She's written books elaborating these ideas, and so I highly recommend it. But um, I do I do want to share just a few of the questions she asks in the hopes that maybe it will help guide you to be more whole. Because that's really what we're all trying to do in life, right? We're trying to just be as whole as the day we were born. So, some questions I want to leave you. I'm going to do a little cheat sheet. Of course, it disappeared because that's just what happens, right? I had it pulled up. I was doing all the prep work so that this could be smooth. Okay, so here are some of the questions. How about you don't have to build an empire or dominate an industry or be the number one at anything? What if you simply built a lovely life that makes you feel happy, that brings you joy, that is generative and supportive? What if you heal the parts of you that need more and more and more? What if you redefined what success looks and feels like to you? What if you decided enough is enough? What if you felt satisfied in the right here, the right now? What if you realize your life is likely a lot closer to your ideal than you ever thought? What if changing the filter in which you view your life makes everything that much more vibrant? How much more open, empty space would be left for your joy if you stopped thinking you needed to earn it? How much time could you spend in actual living your life, living of your life rather, if you let go of striving for more? How much more beautiful would this moment right here become for you? I know it's a lot of questions, and maybe I should just um, type it out and post it somewhere so you guys can reflect on it better. But I value your time as someone who's producing a show about the value of time. Thank you for giving me these minutes, and I won't waste any more of it. That's my 10 years of lessons in summary. And thank you for investing all your time in my journey so far. I've heard from so many of you on Instagram, and um, I don't know. I don't want to cry, but it does choke me up to feel perfect strangers cheering me on. And you guys don't really feel like strangers anymore because I've shared so much of my journey with you. Um, but again, I just value your time and you investing in my life's journey. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Okay, now this is where it gets all clunky because I'm supposed to do like a clean um, wrap. And of course, I can't find where I'm going live from because I have so many windows pulled up. Does that ever happen to you guys? Okay. All right. So now that you took a lot of time looking up my nose, hi. Thank you for joining.